Hello and welcome to Smaulgld's Russian gold reserve update for the month of October 2017. Russia's gold hoard reaches 73.7 billion in value in October as Russian central bank adds 700,000 ounces of gold to her reserves in October. Since June 2015, the Central Bank of Russia has added over 520 tons of gold to her reserves. October's 21.7-ton gold addition brings the Russian central bank holdings to over 1,800 tons, which is the sixth most of any nation, and it's right behind the People's Bank of China. Overall, Russian reserves rose to $424.8 billion in October. Russian holdings of U.S. Treasuries have now topped 100 billion for the sixth month in a row, and the gold reserves are worth $73.7 billion, which constitutes about 17.3% of overall Russian reserves. We're going to take a look at some charts, so let's get right to them. So here is the Russian Central Bank from June 2015 to October 2017, and this chart shows the 520 tons of gold added to reserves during that time period. Here is a longer-term chart that shows Russian activity in the gold market for its reserves since 2000. Russia became a net buyer of gold in 2006 and accelerated her purchases around 2010 following the financial crisis. The last 3 years, 2015-16 and the present year, look like Russia is going to average over 200 tons of gold to reserves. You've got November and December for Russia to get up to 200 tons. Last year when they hit 199, I believe they did not purchase gold in December and they left it at 199. They may be looking just to top out at 200 tons again this year. Now, if you're interested in adding gold to your own stack, you can do so through the Smaulgld site through the affiliate links at BGSC, Golden Eagle Coins, SD Bullion, Money Metals Exchange. You can compare pricing and shipping. You pay no more, no less than if you visited those sites directly. So if it's not investment advice to buy gold, but if you are interested in doing so, consider doing it through the Smaulgld site, as Smaulgld makes a small commission on each sale. Now let's take a look at a more granular chart with the monthly purchases. You could see there's been a few occasions where Russia will go in and add 1 million ounces to her reserves at a clip, a couple of months. Here's December last year where they didn't add any. Here is at the end of the beginning of 2015 during the sanctions period they held off. But you see, when they hold off, they generally just top up the next month, and so they're averaging about 700,000 ounces a month over the past few years. During the time period of this chart, which goes back further, this goes back to June 2014. They've added 721 tons of gold to reserves. Now, as we used to track for the last year, we haven't, is Russia, when both Russia and China, the People's Bank of China, were tracking their gold reserves and publicly displaying them, as they still do, although China is just stating they're not declaring any more gold added to the People's Bank of China's balance sheet. Russia still was adding more at a much faster pace, and you can see the red lines are Russia, these are China. This chart stops here because China stopped adding gold, so there's no point in keeping a comparative chart, but I just wanted to show that when they were both adding and reporting that they were adding, Russia was still adding more, and now obviously Russia this year has added 186 tons of gold to reserves, which means Russia has added 186 tons more gold to her reserves than the People's Bank of China has. Rubles for gold. Now keep in mind that this gold is not purchased on the open market. There's some talk about Russia now buying the gold on the Moscow exchange, but that would still be most likely just domestic gold mining production. Russia has the second or third largest gold mining production in the world behind China, and they basically have been adding increasing percentages of that mining production to reserves, and the rest of that gold they have arrangements to sell to China. So you could see here, I'll put up the 2017 preliminary numbers on mining next month, and I guess we'll probably see an increase in Russian gold production. Also next year in 2018, Russia and China are supposed to do some more gold mining development work, so that may increase the Russian production as well. But I suspect that Russia will just continue to try to increase its gold reserves to about 200 tons a year and get that gold as a percentage of overall reserves over 20%. I still think they'll probably sell off some of the gold to China. Obviously, they're going to sell it off, but we don't know how much more they're going to increase their production. I still think whatever they increase their production to, I think China is going to end up with that gold, not the Central Bank of Russia. So here is the league tables, top 10. This is what we're focused on, China and Russia. I have updated. This is now 1,800 tons, so they're 43 tons behind China in the overall scheme of things. If they do pass them, it would happen in the spring next year. They continue to buy at the current pace, and unless the People's Bank of China starts reporting more gold. Here's a table showing the Russian foreign reserves. They have, even though they have sanctions, they've managed to increase the reserve position, let's say about 14-15% since January 2016. And they've done that with an increase in gold, increase in treasuries, and currency reserves. So they've got a pretty healthy $424 billion reserve position. And remember, of all the central banks, Russia doesn't have the same type of debt that the other central banks have. They have some inflation in the country, but generally it's a well-run. It doesn't have the same hallmarks of a debt Ponzi scheme as most of the other Western central banks and the People's Bank of China. Let's take a look at the U.S. Treasury holding positions. Now, Russia did go through a period of dumping treasuries in 2015. From January 2014, they had 131 billion in treasuries, and by April 2015, they only had 66 billion. But since September of 2016, Russia has added about 36% more, and you can see now they hold well over 100 billion in U.S. treasuries. That's all part of their reserve strengthening positioning that they've been doing over the past, let's say, 6, 12, 18 months, increasing their foreign reserves, which has been done with an increase in gold and U.S. treasuries. And that about does it. If you enjoyed this report, please consider donating to Smaulgld via PayPal, Bitcoin, and those links are all at the below this VidMe, this YouTube, this BitChute, and also Litecoin is accepted as well. Also consider becoming a patron and subscribing to the Smaulgld.com website, and also liking this video and sharing it with your friends and colleagues. Thank you very much.